Welcome back, everybody, to the channel. I realized that today, 35 years ago today, I was at basic training in 1986 at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I want to talk a little bit about that experience. It was a crazy experience. I was 17 years old. Took the bus from Alexandria, Louisiana, down to I think we went down to Baton Rouge, and from there across, I think it was there, yeah, and then across up to Atlanta, and then up to Columbia, South Carolina. Then another little bus came and got us, and I believe that's what it was, and brought from the train station there, or bus station there, and they brought us up. It's been so long ago, and I've made so many different trips, that kind of stuff. It's just hard to remember all of them. But I know I took the bus back also. This was between my junior and senior year of high school. I did a split option. Yeah, I remember getting there, and it was hot. I mean, it was already hot in Louisiana, but man, it was really hot in South Carolina. The humidity was just awful. I mean, it wasn't too bad because I was a bit used to it from being from Louisiana, the humidity, that kind of stuff, and the heat. I was young, 17 years old. But yeah, arriving there at the replacement detachment and starting basic training. I remember that first night we arrived, it was already late. I think they got us a meal. We got to go into the mess hall. We ate just a little bit of in-processing stuff, just files, that kind of stuff like that. We had these yellow packets we brought with us from MEPS. Yes, do apologize. Yes, went to Shreveport, and from Shreveport we drove over. That's where. So I took a bus up from Alexandria to Shreveport, and from Shreveport we traveled across. It wasn't south; it was north, because I went from the MEP station. So anyway, we gave that in, and I remember they put us in a barracks. And I don't remember there being that many of us at that moment, you know. And I can't tell you exactly what date it was. I want to think it was. June the 18th is when I took my basic training photograph, but that wasn't the first day. I do remember that we were still quite white or light or not yet red in the face from those of us white boys from the sun. So that came very quickly. And by the end of it, we had where the patrol cap was at on our heads, we were all tan or whatever from around the neck, farmer's tans, and around the arms, that kind of stuff like that. But yeah, and they threw us in the barracks. We were still in civilian clothes, and yeah, I remember sleeping on a bunk without any. They gave us some. I think they offered some sheets, that kind of like that. I don't remember exactly if they did or not. I just remembered that I just slept on my bunk without anything. It was so hot, so I just slept on the bunk. The next morning, they got us up very early, got us straight to the. We all assembled outside. And then we got straight to the chow hall, had breakfast, and then the in-processing started at Fort Jackson at the in-processing center there. It was an experience. I mean, I don't remember exactly what day we got our uniforms because it was a blur. I don't know how many days I was even there. It could have been 1, 2, 3, 4 days. I don't remember that. I just remember being rushed through and getting all of our shots. And we did get uniforms, and I do remember getting our hair cut. And I remember coming out of the barber shop with my hand on my head, and Drill started yelling at me, "Quit touching my head," you know. I was just like, whoa. First time I ever had my head shaved like that, you know. And just having to sit around and had these benches on the inside and having to sit up, you know, and you're used to sort of slouching, you know, when you were a kid, you know. And yeah, it was an experience. And then after getting all of our uniforms, it comes like that. And I don't remember. I think we got our dress uniforms in the beginning also at that time. I don't remember exactly. But I do remember feeling how proud I was to have being uniform and have my name in U.S. Army on it, even though I was 0 rank. And then getting those boots. So same boots my dad had. He had gone into service in the very beginning of the 70s and went over to Vietnam and stuff like that. But I had the same boots with the waffle sole on. It wasn't like the next year they came out with a new boot, but this right here was the really pre-waffle zigzaggy sole, very thin leather. And then the next year, I mean, one of our drill sergeants actually was wearing the new boots that had come out, and that boot was used and issued, I think, up until they went to the desert boots. But anyway, so I remember us getting all of our stuff, and then we had a duffel bag with a laundry bag, and we had our small little bags. And I don't remember if I had a little backpack or a bag or what. It's been so long ago. But arriving, getting off the loading up on the cattle trailers, being driven up to Tank Hill, and we were up at I think we were the third or fourth level from the top, and being unloaded, falling into being yelled at, telling us, they're telling us what platoon we're in, and getting in front of the platoon there, and going through the normal, what they call now shark attack. We didn't have those kind of stuff. They just chewed us up and spit us out, and at that time they could still touch you. They grab you by the shirt and pull you towards them and hit you in the head with their round browns, And I do remember my drill sergeant Walker. He was a paratrooper from the 86th Airborne Division, had gone to Grenada, had a CIB, and he had master blasters and an air assault and the 86th Airborne Division patch on his right shoulder. And then I also remember Drill Sergeant Hardy. He was a mech infantryman and had his EIB, and he was just an E5. Dylan was E6, and then we had a senior drill sergeant. I don't remember his name completely, but I saw them later on in my career, actually, a couple of them. But anyway, that first day, I remember the heat, because had asphalt and had lines, and we had fallen down, and we were in those and then they put us all in order, and then they told us to put our stuff upstairs in our wall lockers. And I remember we had bunk beds, these old bunk beds that are thin metal tubing bunk beds, and because my last name is Box, we were all in alphabetical order, and that's how they put us, and then sort of load us up in the platoons that way. I was on the second floor. I want to think I was in second platoon. We were second platoon, but I was in third squad, I think. I believe I was in third squad. I think so. First and second was downstairs, third and fourth upstairs. I was in third squad. And when you come into the old barracks, we never came through the front door. It's always on the side door, and it was in the back, and that's where we came up. The drill sergeants came through the front door, and they had their offices on the right, and they had something else on the left. And then there was the first and second squad, and then they had showers with washing machine, washer and dryer, and then we had showers, bathroom and showers upstairs, but I don't remember us having a washer. I think we shared it downstairs. And anyway, going in, I was probably about midway down on the left-hand side. Me and my buddy Briery. Briery was from Louisiana also. And as a matter of fact, most of us were from Louisiana. I was there with a lot of National Guardsmen and stuff. So, and Army Reservists from Louisiana who were going through basic training at the same time. So anyway, and then it all started out. I mean, we had guys who were in the officers program with us, and a lot of mostly support people. I was going to infantry school, so I was like the only guy. Most guys were engineers from the National Guard or whatever. I don't remember all the MOSs they were, but a lot of them were actually going back home afterwards, and a lot of them were continuing their AIT at Fort Jackson. I went back home for another year, my last year of high school, and then returned to Fort Benning the following year. Anyway, so it was an experience. It was hot. It was really grimy and sweaty. The sand was everywhere. I remember so well that first morning of PT, and the drill sergeants were in, I want to think they were in white t-shirts with the old fatigue pants that were cut off and made into shorts with their names on the front of them, with their name tag on the front of them. And they introduced us to the Army Physical Standard, to PT and all the different commands, this kind of stuff, and we began. And that was like 4:30 in the morning, I think we were waking up. And by 6 o'clock, we were having breakfast. So we'd go down, we'd do like an hour PT. We had 30 minutes to shit, shower, shave. We should have already been shaved, by the way. And then get back into the uniform for the day, which was BDUs every day. and start our first week of basic training. I remember most of basic training in the very beginning was PT every morning. We were running up and down Tank Hill through a lot of areas there. And then, of course, in the sand pit right next to the platoon, we were doing our platoon building barracks. We were doing PT every morning in the sand pits. And then we had to rake them, make them look nice and pretty afterwards. And but we did a lot of training there also, if we weren't out in some ranges or something like that. But it was an experience. It was a great experience, actually. I learned a lot. Now, there were some problems there with individuals. We had some guys who were smokers and dippers, and they were having some withdrawals from tobacco, and a couple of them got kicked out because they had broken the rule of not smoking in the barracks or hiding cigarettes in the barracks. The drill sergeants knew everywhere to look, when they would come in looking for this kind of stuff. And they did this stuff when you weren't around. When you're out on a range somewhere, they were in the barracks looking around for this stuff, and then they'd come in and they knew who it was. They knew who the smokers were. I was not a smoker. I was not a drinker, so I sort of got around all that stuff. But I didn't get around not getting in trouble. Of course, we all did push-ups. We all got in trouble. I remember getting hammered into later on in basic training I got more problems in the end of basic training than I did in the beginning of basic training. I just sort of kept my mouth shut throughout the whole thing. But then as you get more confident, they catch you doing stuff or saying something, whatever. And it was life-changing. Our senior drill sergeant would tell you, say, listen, we're going to chew your ass out. This is sort of a game. It's a serious game. You have to learn. Remember that. But in your brain, when you get your ass chewed, you say, fuck it, and you move on. And that's exactly, and they would actually tell you that. Okay, what are you supposed to do? What's in your brain right now? What's in your head right now? Think about it. Say it out loud, they tell you. But yeah, we did a lot of road marches, all the ranges. I honestly felt like I was there forever. It was only 2 months, 8 weeks, but it felt like I was there forever. And I remember going, all the different, I remember that very first experience we had. They brought us out by I think it was cattle car, and we went to see a live fire exercise. They were showing us all the weapon systems and that kind of stuff. And this was in the very beginning. We got to see them, as instructors doing all this stuff at a range there. And then later on, we went to that same range and we used a lot of those weapons actually. But I did not like Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And I was like, I'm so thankful I never got stationed there. It was just one of the worst places. But I remember going and lining up at the chow hall, and the first time we went in, probably for the first several weeks we were there, we never sat down. It was like you get in, you get a tray, you got your plate, they were giving you food, and you begin eating, and you circled the entire chow hall until you came to the door right next to the one you came in. That was the entrance, the other one was the exit, and there you cleaned off whatever's left on your plate. You turned in your you stacked up your stuff, your trays and your spoons, that kind of stuff, went to another thing, and then you got out, and then you waited outside for everybody else to finish. And while you're out there, you had to be reading your SMART manual, which we did, and that covered everything that we'd have to learn from NBC to first aid to radio communication procedures. Of course, you had to learn the Army motto, the Army song, and I still could not sing and tell you those today. I don't remember them. I never said them afterwards. Thank goodness, never. I mean, there's some other things I had to say afterwards, but those two weren't one of them, And yeah, so we, I remember it being so hot and sweaty, almost how I feel right now wearing this jacket right here, because that's back when we still had the big collared heavyweight BDUs, and thank goodness that didn't last long in my career. I got to change that uniform over to something a lot better, more comfortable, and cooler looking. But it was an experience. I mean, I remember I remember all the different training that we had to go through. I put my brain to it here, of course, the first day on the range, and then all the range. I shot expert. I shot 40 out of 40. I was a Hawkeye. I was pretty happy about that. I was pretty proud of myself because, being a Louisiana boy, growing up hunting, fishing, that kind of stuff, you want to be able to shoot your best. So I looked out and shot my best on the range, and I really enjoyed shooting. So the M16, it was an easy rifle to shoot. It was nothing like the 30-06s and everything else that we shot, growing up. But yeah, throwing the grenade, I remember that, going out to the grenade range. Now, I experted all of the classes. I experted rifle, the bayonet assault course. I remember that. I experted that, although I don't know how. I mean, you have to run this course. I think it was 500 meters. You do a certain amount of time, so I experted that. And then we came to the grenade range. I remember my drill sergeant telling me there's only 4 of us that has experted everything so far. And he goes, I was the only one from the platoon. He says, so, I'm going to grade you. So even if you couldn't hit the damn wall over there, you're going to expert this. But I did it. I put everything I had into it, and I didn't miss anything, and I got all the answers right, and I was pretty proud of myself that day. So I don't like the idea of someone giving me something. I prefer to earn it, and that's just how I've always been in my life, in my career. I could have gotten E5 much faster when the points were actually lowered. I could have gotten it much faster. I had everything I needed except for, I think I was short 3 points, and I had broken my ankle and on a jump, and I could do the push-ups, the sit-ups, no problem, right there in front of anybody. I could max out on that part, but the run I couldn't. And my sergeant, my squad leader, said, "Listen, I want to make you an E5 or get you an E5. You've earned it. You deserved it. You've been through all the courses. All this kind of stuff." My first sergeant was also pushing for it too at the time, but I knew that I couldn't pass the run. So I said, "Listen, I mean, as much as I would love for you to just write that in, I'd feel guilty for the rest of my life thinking that someone had given me something I didn't earn." And so I missed it, and I had to wait even longer. So yeah, it was probably stupid on my part. I should have just gone ahead and done it and got the point and moved on, but I just didn't like being given stuff. So it's a hard-headed thing of mine. But anyway, so that's when I ask for someone for help, is because I really need help. It's not because I'm trying to pull the wool over their eyes. It's just the way I am. But yeah, I remember all the training, the PT test. I maxed out on that also. I at basic training, and I remember the final test. I did really well. I do remember one thing going to during the training part of the final part of the test. We were doing the Claymore, and it's funny. I had 2 times in my entire career I had problems with the Claymore mine. I'll tell you the other story later, but yeah. I was there, and we were doing the Claymore, and the drill sergeant came up from behind you. We were being a little bit, cocky, whatever, and he heard me say something to somebody. I don't know what it was, and he made me do 1,000 squat thrusts. And squat thrust is pretty much I can't remember what you call it now. It's where you I can't remember what it's called now. My brain just did that, It's one of these CrossFit exercises where where you basically drop down to a push position, and you jump up and you do an overhand. But we didn't do the overhand thing. We just basically went down to push position, came up, and then went back down to position, came up, stand up in position of attention. We're doing that. So that was a squat thrust. So I had to do 1,000 of them, and I was worn the fuck out. I was that it didn't break me because I was in really good fit at that, really fit, very good shape at that time. But I did them. I did all 1,000 of them, and he watched me. I do all of them, Had to count them out, And luckily, he didn't make me do it in 2-count exercise or 4-count exercise. He just, every one of them counted as an individual. I'd have been there forever, But anyway, that happened. I never got dropped for anything too much. That was like the one time, and I do remember once. When I was at the very end of basic training, I was with my buddy Briar. We were having some food, and it was sort of a relaxed situation. It was like the last week or so, and I told a joke to it was just a joke. Told it to a guy. He took offense of it, reported me. I got called up, got sent to the office. And to the senior drill sergeant, I got my ass chewed out, and it felt like I lost all 2 of them, both cheeks. And I was crying. I was worried that they were going to kick me out of the Army. It's the thing I wanted to do in my entire life since I was a little boy, and it really just scared the hell out of me. But I did cry twice in basic training. That was the last time. The first time was after 4 weeks. We went to the PX, and I had been made. Our squad leader had been fired, and I'd been made the squad leader. And I marched our squad. We were in PTs. It was in the middle of the day, I think, or in the evening. It was in the evening. We marched down to the PX. We can get some stuff that we needed to, like some extra soap, or if we needed soap, or boot polish, or this kind of things. I think I bought myself some socks. I needed more socks, so I bought myself some extra socks and just some stuff like that. We weren't allowed to get any kind of candy or any of that kind of stuff. Just, and the drill sergeants, they weren't there. They just sort of like, okay, and so we came back and got to use the phone. And they had these pay phones there, and got in line. We got 5 minutes on the phone, and my time came up. I got on the phone. I called home, and no one answered. So I lost like 2.5, 3 minutes there, just waiting. And I got to the back of the line. Drill sergeant said, "You got another 2 or 3 minutes," like that. He was pretty precise. And then I called my grandmother, and she answered. My grandma, Lucille Box, and she answered, and I just cried on the phone to her for 2 minutes. I was so upset because no one was home, and she told me that everybody was off on vacation. I feel like nobody knew I was there. Matter of fact, I never had a graduation while I was in the Army, except for one, and that's when my ex-wife's time. She came to a graduation for military school I was at. But I'd never had anybody in my family ever come to any of my graduations. Never. And I had friends of mine there. That means basic training, IT, the whole works. They had their whole families were there, and yeah. So it was it's just one of those things. You sort of get used to it, And I felt like that, I had a family at home, but that was my family at home, and my life was where my rucksack was at, and so that's how I felt. But anyway, then we got to graduation. With an 8-hour, the day before, I think we had an 8-hour, that weekend, we had an 8-hour pass. And, or was it, it was afterwards, excuse me, it was afterwards, because basically for us who were going back home, we had to head back home, So, but yeah, I think I bought myself a Walkman at the AFES, the PX. A disc, a CD Walkman, and I had bought 2 CDs, and that's where I spent my money. I remember, but I do remember the graduation and having to wear those freaking low quarter shoes, getting a blister. I hated those shoes, and that's one reason to stay on jump status. You don't have to wear those bloody shoes because they are terrible. But I even today those shoes would just tear my feet up, But yeah, we were in our little summer class A uniform. I think it was called the Class B's, and we did our graduation there at Fort Jackson, and got back. Everything was already turned in, and just another thing happened at the end. Sort of my brother Mark, who was stationed in Babenhausen in Germany, he was an artillery guy. He sent me a package, and inside of it were a bunch of cookies from Germany and some stuff like that. And he sent me a duffel bag, which was really good because he knew that I'd need a duffel bag to get all my stuff home. So it was really good to have that, So I was like really smart move. My drill sergeant was like, "Damn, this must be from a." Well, first they saw the address, Sergeant Mark Stanzel, and then they were like, "So you have a brother in the Army?" I said, "Yeah, it's my brother," and then they're like, "Well, we need to open up in front of us." So open up in front of them in their office, and there's a bunch of German cookies in there. Lots of cookies and that kind of stuff. And they're like, "Okay, we'll make a deal with you. If you share the cookies with us," because one of them had been stationed in Germany, in Schweinfurt actually, in 3rd ID. He's like, "Listen, you share some of the cookies with us, and then we'll let you have the rest of them." So I shared some with them, and then I ate a bunch. Matter of fact, I could not leave the office until all the cookies were gone. So he ate all of them, and then I got my duffel bag and a few other things I think he had sent me. I went back up, and that was it. But yeah, that was a cool time. It was a special time in my life going to basic training, and then really funny stories on the way back. Took the bus back all the way to Baton Rouge for some reason, and I was on the bus with a guy named Toddy, and Toddy was I'm 6 foot tall, and he was a good almost foot taller than I am. If I look at my basic training picture, he's in there. He's a big guy. And he and I were together in Baton Rouge, and we were walking in our Class Bs. We had to walk from the Trailways to Greyhound, I think, to switch our tickets up so we can get home 4 hours earlier, and that'd be much better for my dad, because my dad was coming picking us up at the bus station in Alexandria. And so we walked down. As we were walking down, I was in front of him, he was behind me, and now he's from the city and I'm from the country, and he's huge kid. It's huge. He's a big, tall kid, very huge, very big. And suddenly, out of nowhere on the street, somebody came out and was asking us for money. And I had my hands in my pockets. I had a bunch of quarters in my pockets. At that time, you couldn't use a cell phone. You had to use a pay phone. So I bought myself a $5 roll of quarters. You never know, And so I remember having my hands in my pockets, which was a no-go in the Army anyway. But I had them there, and Toddy grabbed me by the shoulders and picked me up, turned me towards the guy. And the guy said, "You got any money? You got some spare change?" And Toddy whispered in my ear, "Tell him no." And at the same time, he was shaking me. You can hear the change in my pocket. So he dropped me. I threw the guy a couple of quarters, and we ran off, And we came back through. The guy was no longer there. But that was funny as hell. This big guy grabbing me up like that, And I was this little skinny little sucker, But yeah, we finally got home, and sadly I never saw Toddy anymore. I don't know, how things go in his life. I need to look these guys up a little better. I still have my annual from basic training that you get, and I should look these guys up. I have found one guy. Years later, I have seen some of the guys actually that became officers, just kind of like that. But never, they were all in National Guard. But I'd come home on vacation or leave, and I'd see them or something like that. Because my dad was stationed at Camp Beauregard, and I would go down to see him sometimes, and some of the guys there were stationed there also working there, so I'd see them, But there's another guy I saw, he's actually living where my family's from in Louisiana, and we talked last year on the phone, and it was nice talking to him, and he actually knows my cousin's daughter. He knows her pretty well. They're friends and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a small world, but it's still a big world. Because I'm actually in more contact with the guys I served with active duty than any of that time when I was in AIT. I could not tell you who was in that class. So we didn't take any pictures. I got there just for AIT. Those guys all knew one another. They all shipped out to Fort Ord. All of them did. They all went to 7th ID as a cohort, and I went somewhere else. There were a few of us that went somewhere else, but the majority of them all went there. So it was a special element also. But that's another story. Anyway, one thing I do remember about AIT also is that we were a Charlie company. I want to say, I don't remember exactly what unit we were, but we were 2nd Platoon. We'd always say, 2nd Platoon, second to none. If we can't do it, it can't be done. And the drill sergeants would yell out, "Take seats!" And then we would yell out, "2nd Platoon, second to none. If we can't do it, it can't be done." And then we would sit down. So I do remember that from all those years, but that's about it. Anyway, listen, I want to thank you for coming onto the channel. I hope this was interesting and a little bit funny. It wasn't always funny for me, but it's something I enjoyed doing and I love doing, was serving in the Army. And I did 10 years. And I would have done more if it wasn't for a few things that happened in the world, in my life. I don't regret getting out because I have 2 wonderful kids, but I do regret not retiring from the Army because I really liked it. And I could have retired at 20 years at 47 years old. Now I'm 52 years old, and I would love to be retiring right now from the Army. Getting that good retirement check someday, Anyway, listen, I want to thank all of you and hope you all have a good weekend. It's Friday evening right now. The weather's in and out, but again, please, when you share my channel, share my posts, my videos, give me a thumbs up, leave comments, ask any questions. I would love to hear from you, and I hope you all have a good weekend. Take care of yourself. Goodbye.